Hey everybody, how's everybody doing today? Welcome to my photo editing live stream where you can submit your images here live and I submit them and I edit them with Photoshop or Photolab 9.9.1 I believe I'm on today. And just let me know the audio and video is okay as well so we can get started. But I just want to make a couple of announcements. I think today's the last day, July 10th. It's supposed to be the last day. I guess depending on what time zone you're in, could be sooner or later. But today is the last day to get 20% off DxO Photolab and any of the DxO products if you're a new customer. So if you want to support the channel, um, or you can do that, or you can make donations in the links below. But I wanted to get that out there. It's pretty substantial savings. We won't see that again until probably Black Friday, uh, 20% off or better. Uh, the rest of the year I can get 15% off with a different coupon code, but it's just go to robtrek.com/DxO, and then the coupon code is robtreksummer 2026. And again, all that information is in the description below. Uh, After today, you can just use my regular discount code at 15%, just robtrek. And as you know, DxO is my preferred editor of choice. And I do these live streams every week because what better way to demonstrate the capabilities of DxO and the workflow and the tools that I use. And it's also an open Q&A. Every 2 or 3 images, I pause and answer any questions you might have about any of the tools I used or the editing that I did. Uh, so it's a virtual live support as well for the Photolab product specifically. I'm not quite as fluent with Pure Raw or Nick Collection, but I can try and address those as well because I do use Nick Collection time to time. So I'm really excited that we can all get that discount and that I can be here for you every week to show you editing your images rather than just cherry picking some images, right? And then I want to also let you know that this is not a critique or a judgment of any kind of your photos. It's simply, I'm going to edit them the way I would if they were my own photos. So a lot of the choices I make are going to be creative or subjective and maybe in no way, uh, any shape or form, your vision for the photos. So that said, sometimes I know some of you like to submit your edits of the photo using the same link down below, so I can take a look at them and we can compare your edit to my edit. And a lot of times, I like your edits better. And also, with these streams, a lot of times, uh, I'll do something new, something that I haven't done before using the tools or applying the tools in a way that I've never done before. So it's a good educational process for both of us. And that's part of the reason I do this is so that we can all learn together how to use this tool because, it has so many features. But okay, good to see everyone here. I see Paul and Jeff and Larry, Kevin, Zimmy, hello. Wow, that's a new name. I don't think I've seen that. And Bamsem, good to see you. Robert, good to see you. And Heather, as always, awesome to see you. Um, all right, so let me see if I can pull up my screen. I think I got everything organized. Everything's working well. And we'll go ahead and get started. Oh, one more thing I want to do is I'm going to make the screen fonts a little bigger so that it's easier to see the sliders and the settings. It gives me a little less working space, but not a big deal. Okay. All right, now we're ready. Okay, so uh, so I'll kind of walk you through my thought process and my workflow, and we'll start with the first one here from John. Oh, beautiful home here, and I would say, the first thing I always look at is just the overall composition and exposure and geometry of the scene, white balance, just to kind of give me a feel for how I'm going to approach this photo. Uh, so everything looks good exposure wise, and composition is we can do a little work here with the geometry. Um, and the first thing I start doing before I actually edit the photo is I apply noise reduction, a little bit of sharpening, optical corrections. These are all the core technologies of DxO Photolab that I think make it the best raw photo editor. Uh, and I have a preset for that set up that you can go to my website and download for free. I think I'll just use the default preset here that I created, which does all of those things. Uh, okay, very good. And I think I'm just gonna, so I always do, so exposure looks good. I don't have to make any dramatic changes there. White balance is fine. So I'm gonna just go right to the geometry, and it's important that you do all of the geometry first uh, before you start doing any particularly local editing. Because what I found was is if you try to change the geometry, like tilt the horizon or fix, skewing and aspect. The local adjustments don't always follow the geometric changes that you make, so uh, you'll get some things out of alignment. So uh, that's the first thing I always do is geometry, and I'm already in the geometry tab here. So I think the perspective tool works really well most of the time. Uh, and that's not too bad. It looks a little bit off, so I'm just going to back off the intensity just a tiny bit till it looks right. And I just do this by eye, and I think that looks pretty good right there. And now the cropping part, I think, when I crop, I try to balance the image with exposure and or uh, sort of weight, right? Like in this case, this house or whatever this is taking up pretty much most of the frame. So I don't really have to balance the image. It's not heavy on one side or the other. But I do want to try and give it a little bit more depth and layering. Because in composition, my typical go-to move is to try to layer and break things up into thirds. So we have a foreground, midground, background. But because the lighting is very flat, we're not getting that sense of depth, right? Because we're trying to take a two-dimensional image and give it a more 3D feel. So I may have to do that artificially by making local adjustments to the exposure in particular. So there's that. So I'm keeping that in mind while I'm thinking about the overall composition and crop. And this is a little bit distracting, this drum or barrel here. There's a little accent in here, and the lights are good. And then these benches. So uh, but if I try to crop out that part, it's going to maybe, let me try and balance just a little bit. And you get a rule of thirds grid when you activate the cropping tool. And I try to use that to help me balance, the overall feel or weight. So I think that might be the best I can do there. And I'm trying to center, right here is the center, this little box, right over this part here. I'd rather center it over the door, but just the angle of view that we have is just not there. So maybe about there, and just bring it in a little tighter. Like so. I need a little bit more on the right. Okay, that feels about right. Okay, so from here, I'm going to try and create a little bit of depth and bring out the textures of the wood and brick and maybe darken the foreground a bit. So I'm going to go right to local adjustments. I can use the AI tool, say for the foreground here. And I'm just going to bring that down a bit. And whenever I use selective tone, I prefer that over, say, using exposure. I like using selective tone to create what they call an S-curve in the histogram. And I think that always looks a little more natural than just doing a linear pull with the exposure slider. And I can see I just missed a little bit on the crop there. Right there. Okay, from here, I'm going to try and just add a little bit of light. Actually, let me see if I pull this down. Just want to see where the light is, and there's a little bit of sky detail in there. What I might do is make this more of a nighttime scene. So I'm just going to darken this. So, like so. And then I'm going to go to the color and let's cool it off to give it more of a moonlight kind of feel. So let's go over to white balance and just pull this down. Just a little bit here and there. Okay, now the sky is still really exposed, overexposed relatively speaking. So I'm going to use, see when I use the AI tool, you can see it's not really selecting the sky properly, right? So I'm going to use a control line that has a luminosity mask. So we'll create a new layer. I'm just going to bring it in like that. And now I can just select the brightest parts because there's a luminosity mask here that I can adjust. I think I'll just go up one notch to 55. And then let's try bringing that down. It's not going to be enough, so I'm going to pull the luminosity slider in. Okay, now I'm going to start painting some light back in. And I think maybe I'll just start with the lights. Let me add a new mask. Just going to start with the lights here. Let me zoom in. And I have to drop the control point right on the part that I want to illuminate. Do a little bit there. And one there. And again, I'm going to just use my selective tone first. And let's warm that up. Like so. All right, that looks good. I'm going to just drop a little bit more. Let me see. Drop a little bit more down here. I might need to use it. I'm going to use a different control point. So I'm going to make a new layer and just drop a little bit more down here. So again, let's just try with the sliders. Bring this down. Okay, and then I'm going to also cast a little bit of light onto the ground, directly under these lights. So I'm going to make a new mask. And this is going to be a little bit more subtle. And we'll do the same warmth like so, and then a little bit down here and here. Okay, this one can be maybe a little bit lower. And this one a little smaller. All right, and we'll just spread that one out. I'm going to reduce this. I'll just pull the opacity like so. Okay, good. All right, let me add, oh, I need a little bit of light on that chair as well. Let me see if I can use the same control point. Maybe not. Oh, yeah, that works. All right, and then I need to, let me select this one. I'm going to erase a little bit. So I'm going to add a submask. I'm just going to use a brush. And I'm going to click the negative. Flow, that's fine, 100%. Make the brush a little bigger. Just take it off the top. Okay. All right. Okay, I want to bring out the texture in the wood a bit more. Let's see if the AI tool will get the building. Yeah, that's good. And I can do that with some clear view and micro contrast. I think that looks pretty good. Maybe do the same thing for the brick. And we'll give the brick a little more color. So let me try just vibrancy and a little bit of saturation. Okay. And I'm going to add just a tiny bit of light, maybe to the steps. So let's make a new mask. So I want the front door, I want the front doors and the steps leading up to the door, just give a little bit more welcoming feel. And we'll add a little bit of warmth to that as if it's coming from the maybe a little bit further over here. Yeah, there we go. And then the doors themselves, let's see. Let's try the AI mask. And I'm going to do, I'm hitting the shift key to add additional masking, shift and click. Just a tiny bit there. And maybe a little bit of more warmth. No, that doesn't look right. And let's add some contrast to this window. A little bit of warmth in there. And here. Okay. I'm going to try and darken the image again a little bit more. Let's use the selective tone this time. Oh, too much. No, let's not do blacks. Let's do just a little bit on the shadows and midtones. We don't really need the highlights. Let me go back to my local adjustments. I'm just going to increase this a bit. That one doesn't really need it. We'll just push it a little bit. And just a little bit of a push here. Maybe in the shadows. Yeah, just a touch and maybe a little bit cooler. All right, I think I'll call it there. So, oops. All right, so there's the original image on the left and the sort of the night version of it on the right. And I do this time to time, not often, I would say rarely, but sometimes. I do this in my, real estate photography. If I do a residential property, which is not very often. But I think the main thing was just getting the lines straight and vertical for the composition, getting rid of this one distraction over here, and then just changing the scene to be a little bit more dynamic. Uh, I could go further and maybe fake some lights inside the windows, um, but I don't think that would look right. I think the way it is now is just fine, and maybe a little more light on the doors would help. So let me see if I can see. Let's try a little bit of warmth. Just push them slightly. Just so you can see the doors. There's some texture in there, so I will add some micro contrast. Okay, there we have it. All right, so I think that's pretty good. That's how I would probably deliver it to a client. All right, let's go to the next one. And oh, I didn't apply the optical corrections here. I forgot to download the module. Whenever you see this arrow here, you need to download this module. Let me do that real quick. It's it it can make a significant difference in fine details because the optics module uh, intelligently sharpens the image based on the lens and camera used. Uh, so I need to do that. Usually it's very fast. Only takes about 10 or 15 seconds to install that module. So we'll give that a moment. And although, I think over this, watching this through a stream, you're not going to be able to tell much difference when we just look at the image and its normal level, cropping level. But if I zoom in, you will see a significant difference in the fine details once the optics module has been installed. Okay, there we go. Ah, I don't know what happened there. It must somehow it reset my my settings. Hold on. What happened to my settings here? It's not the denoising. It's the perspectives got messed up. Everything here. Yeah, okay. So this is a good example of what I was talking about earlier with the if the geometry changes, because the optics module makes changes to the lens's geometry by getting rid of like lens distortion. And what happened is all of my control points are not lined up with the geometry. And if I were to go back over to my local adjustments, you can see the control line. The control line is now on the trees. So I need to move this over. And then all of these are way off. I think this was over here originally. And these were down here. Oh no, that's the house. This one was over here. And then this one was over here. This was on the door. Dang it, which one is messing this up? This one was down here. Ugh. Well, let me just say it's really important to get the geometry first. I probably have to go back and re-edit this from scratch. Sometimes I can just move the control points to where they were supposed to be, but it doesn't look like I can in this case. That one probably went there. That's the building. This is over here. These were the doors, I believe. It's getting there. This was more up here. Well, anyhow, yeah, I thoroughly messed that up. Okay, now let's go to the next one. But that was a good lesson, right? In why you want to do all the geometry first. So this one does not have an arrow that I need to download the optics module. So we'll go here. And looks like a little starling. So we'll apply my default preset. And the starling is backlit. So we're going to try and take advantage of the, how do I close this? I don't know. Anyway, because I really like the way the wings are backlit. And we have good lighting across the rocks, but the water is a little bit too strong. So let's see. Composition wise, I might make a dramatic change here. Maybe something like this. So I have a little bit of framing, a little bit more headroom. But then the foreground, let me come in a bit tighter. I'm just hitting the letter R key on my keyboard to kind of jump in and out of the cropping tool. I kind of miss. Okay. I think that works. So I'm going to try and temper the water a little bit and then emphasize the lighting raking across the top of the rocks. So let's go to the, my God, I got so many pop-ups today. Um, select the water. Just want to temper that a little bit. Like so. Because I'm going to be darkening the rocks quite a bit. I'm going to use the box tool here on the AI. Let's make a new mask. And I'm just going to select all the rocks. Hopefully it'll grab it. Not quite. So let's try it with the regular AI tool. So I'm going to do shift and click, shift and click, shift and click. All right, that worked out better. And I really want good, strong contrast in here. I always try to keep a straight line on the selective tones. Now I'm going to add some warmth there. Okay, good. Maybe the water needs to be a little bit warmer too. Yeah, there we go. What if I just pull it in a bit more? Just give it more of a sunset feel. Yeah, I think the selective tone is just right. I just need to make it a little darker. All right, now the bird itself, hold on. Let me diffuse that a bit. No. Okay, let me just leave it there for now. And the bird, I got a couple of choices. I can make it more silhouette. Let me think. I can do the things individually, or I can just select bird. Let me try select animals. And let's push the highlights. Maybe not that much. Because these starlings really have beautiful feathers. Seriously, I don't know how to turn off WhatsApp. I thought, why can't you just close it right here? All right. Okay, let me see how that's looking. Not too bad. I'm going to try and work on the body separately. And some micro contrast in there. And I doubt I'll be able to get the eye. Where is the eye? Right here. Let's pull that all the way in. Yeah, the eye is going to be tough. Some clear view and micro contrast. Just add just a drop, and the beak looks good. And let me go back to the bird. What if I diffuse that as well? And go back to the water. Yeah, I want that diffused. The bird. Okay, so let me go back to the water. I'm going to have to make the water a little bit brighter. Hold on. Do I got two? Oh, no. Yeah, that's the one I want. I'll just pull the blacks in. Let me go this way on the tone curve. There we go. Because I was getting a little bit of haloing, right? So I just wanted to try to minimize that. Go back to this bird. Give it a little more color. Let's crank up the vibrance. Okay, I'm going to call it there. So there's the original on the left. My edit on the right. I think we got some good color back and details in the bird. You know, when you start to see that, you can still see a tiny bit of haloing here, right? When you start to see too much, try doing using the diffusion slider like I did, and that's still, you know, if the haloing is still kind of obvious, then you have to just brighten up the other mask to closer match the color or the luminance of the haloing. I think this works pretty well. Because if you look at the bird over here, it does have a lot of bright water behind it. So it works over here. But okay, there's my edit. All right, very good. Let's do one more and then I'll go to the chat section. So if you have any questions, uh, you know, you can leave them in the chat section while I'm working on the next edit here. So that was from William, very nice. And this one here from Hans, okay. So we'll go to customize. Let me see if I need to download an optics module. Nope. So we're going to apply this, and then let's do perspective. So I'm getting all my geometry. I'm going to back that off a tiny bit so it looks right. It looks about right. Okay, so this image has a lot of nice layers in it. Let me just tilt it a little bit as well. There. So we have a nice layer here in the front, the midground, and in the background up here. So I think I'll try and make the background a little darker here, temper the highlights, and bring out some details here in the midground, which is the subject in this case. And then maybe just darken a little bit in the foreground, but brighten up the water a little bit or make it more uh, shiny, if that makes sense, more glittery. So let's try. Let's see how far the AI tool will get us. It'll get that one. And it'll do this. A little bit down in here. And here. I missed it. All right, good. All right, sorry, I gotta fix this WhatsApp thing, figure out how to close this. If I just shut it down, I have a local photo club group. I don't, and I just use WhatsApp to communicate to everybody and vice versa. I don't see how to shut it down. I closed it, but I don't know why the messages keep popping up. All right, just ignore it if you see it again. All right, so let's bring in the background. Just make it a little darker. A little bit of clear view, and we can soften it a bit. Just reduce the micro contrast a bit. All right, let me get onto this building. I wonder if this box tool will. Yeah, not bad. Let's try from here. Not so much. I'll just do them individually. And then this one. I'm going to temper this, a little bit of clear view and micro contrast. Okay, and then maybe a little bit of vibrancy. So I like some of the colors. Yeah, I like that. All right, good. Okay. All right, the foreground, that's going to be a little bit trickier. I don't know if how much AI can grab the side here. I'm just going to let me try the box tool. Oh, there's people down here. Oh, I almost missed that. Go back to this, and I don't need to be too precise because I'm not making major changes. But I just want to temper the foreground just a bit, maybe give it a little bit more warmth. About like that. And then let's select the water. I'll use the AI tool again. That's good. Throw in some clear view. Give the water just a little bit more punch. Okay. I didn't make any changes to the composition or, cropping. I think the composition is really good as it is. We were able to just kind of layer it using exposure. And I think that's all I would do here. maybe let me just look at something. Long as I don't change the geometry, if I just crop, I don't have to worry about my control points, but maybe get rid of that fence line. And all of the, well, not all of the people, but some of the people. Let me see how that feels. It's a little tight. We need a little more room on the left. A little bit more. I think the composition was fine the way it was, actually. But let me just experiment a bit. Yeah, I'm kind of going back to the original composition. Oh, okay, that's a little better. I like a little bit less negative space over here. And we can still see, you know, the people standing around. All right. So original on the left, slight crop on the right with, you know, geometric changes, right? And now you can really see that the church here has a little bit of like bright yellow paint on it, where it wasn't so obvious over here. I thought it was just all white. And so pumping up the vibrancy and saturation brings out the colors there. And the colors of all the other buildings, which is nice. Like this one has got a pink tone to it. Clearly this is orange, and then this has a blue. So uh, that helped a lot. And then everything else was what I always do, right? Just try and layer the scene. Okay, let me pause here for a second because I see some things in the chat. So Heather says turn off notification on WhatsApp. Let me try that real quick. I see start message. I don't know how to do it. Status, channels, communities. Profile. Oh, here it is, notifications. There, I can turn that off. Never. All right, that should work. Thank you, Heather. I try to be proficient in the things that matter to me. Like WhatsApp is like just a way to communicate. I guess I gotta learn it a little better. I just started using WhatsApp like maybe 6 months ago. And anyway, thank you for that. And I think the eyes, oh yeah, for the Starling. And hello, Intrigue, good to see you. And Paul, looks like the Cricket Pavilion, John. Oh, okay, that's for John. And good morning, John. Good to see you, Henning. Good to see you. And happy Friday, Heather and Robert. And Bamson says, I wish they could make a mobile app, mobile unit version of the app like Adobe. Some of us use tablet or phone on the go. Yeah. That would be nice. They'll probably come out with an iPad version before they come out with, you know, like an Android one, because I imagine the iPads use the same chip, right? Like M1, M2. I'm not familiar with Apple products, but on the surface, it seems more likely they could do it for Apple because the ecosystem is more closed and more consistent, which would make it easier to program apps for an iPad because they've already done it for the Mac. But Android is a whole different operating system from Windows. So that would be more difficult, but that's a good suggestion. All right, let's go back to the editing. And okay, another church here. Wow, this one is really underexposed. So like I said, I look at the exposure, white balance, all of that first, the geometry. So let me check if I have to download any more modules. No, I think I have modules for everything else. So let's go ahead and apply my default preset. And let's try and do uh, perspective. Hopefully that doesn't throw it off too much. Okay, that's good. And I think the intent here was to save the highlight information coming through the windows, but then, without using Flash, we're going to lose a lot of uh, the ambient light down here is just not enough, right? So what I can do is maybe I'll just darken the windows and then brighten up the exposure overall. So let me just AI select the windows. Let's see, like that. And here. I mean, darken the windows. And down here. So let's pull these way in. And then even a little darker. Okay, now let's go back to the global exposure and pull that up. Okay, not bad. We're still a bit overexposed on the top, so I'm just going to pull this back up about a stop. And then we'll use some local adjustment tools to deal with, because I was overexposing up here. Let's try a linear control line. We can spread that a little bit, maybe up to here. And let me just pick something kind of dark down here. What if I start down here? They're still coming up, these messages. Ah, I wish I could just shut it down, but there's no like close. What over here? Exit. Oh, there we go. Perfect. That should do it. Okay. Because it's distracting to my thought process here. Let's add a little bit of clear view. Okay, I'm going to desaturate the red a little bit. Um, Reds tend to be oversaturated in general when, with digital cameras for whatever reason. Okay, this control line, spread that up a bit more. All right, just going to push this like so. Okay, now let's just temper some of the highlights here and there. I can probably just use a control point. like that. A little bit up here. Let's add a little bit of warmth. Okay. And I'm going to add a little bit more light to this thing. So let's do, whoops, one too many masks. So that's beautiful, whatever that is. Give it some sparkle. And actually, maybe cool it off a tiny bit. Okay. And then let's give a little bit of light on a couple of the faces. I wonder if I thought I saw something in AI that will select people's faces. Let me see if that was there. Yeah, right here, faces. Oh, it didn't find them. Found a little bit of hair. Close. Nah. I'm gonna select the people and just push the midtones a bit. Need to add this guy. Um, just a little bit of contrast. Okay, the overall color, I'm going to change it to the profile to portrait because I think people's faces look a little bit too reddish. So the portrait one takes away some of that redness that we get sometimes in the faces. That's because they're all wearing red shirts. That's partially causing that. All right, I think that's it. Uh, so there's the before and after. So again, the challenge was, I guess I could make the windows a little bit brighter. I think they're a little bit too dark. Hold on, let me just do that real quick. I think it's the very first thing I did, right? So let's make the windows a little bit brighter. Back off the opacity a bit. There we go. Give a little bit of warmth. All right. That's better. So yeah, we had to recover quite a bit of shadow detail and then maintain the highlights. Just temper them a little bit to bring the color back. And then the rest of the scene. And then of course the geometric changes, right? But I think that works out. That came out pretty nice considering where we started from. Okay. Let's go to, that looks like my picture. What, what, what the heck did I don't know how my, oh no, this is when Paul was with me when you came out that week. We did a photo walk together, Paul and I, when he came into DC. And I remember taking a shot very similar to this. Okay. All right, so let me see what I can do. Let's apply the basic preset. Sorry, Paul, I thought this was my image at first because I took a sequence just like, but anyhow. All right, so we'll do that. Let's try perspective, see if that, yeah, that's jacking it up a bit. I think I'll just tilt it just a bit. And I'm going to convert this to a vertical because I don't like this guy in the frame. We'll center that. All right, that looks good. Maybe a black and white because there's not really any colors in here. Okay, let's select the sky. Throw in some clear view, pull the highlights just a little bit. Give it some micro contrast. And yeah, let's not do that. The water looks okay, but I'd really like to silhouette a little bit more. I wonder if I just do a global contrast. Yeah, that works pretty well. Let me see where we're at. It's a micro contrast. Just a little more clear view. It's a little bit too strong. I need to brighten up this bottom area just a bit. So I'll use a control line on the highlights or midtones. Okay, the sun is, let's see. Let me go back to the global. All right, I think that'll do it. So there's the original on the left. Like I said, this guy was a bit distracting. And I wish the silhouette was a little bit like she was over here or in front, rather than having this shadow go through her like this to get better separation of her and the monument. But other than that, I think that's the way I would go. Okay, I did the sky a little bit too much. There's a little bit of haloing here, so I could back that off a little, but that's ultimately the edit I would go with. All right, let's do photo library. I feel like I've done this one already. No, this is a little bit different. The previous rabbit didn't have quite as much plants covering it. So what's this guy doing is smelling a flower. That's really cute. So the question is, so I'm hitting the F9 key to bring the panels in and out. Need a little bit of tilt to the right, but let me apply basic preset or default preset. Let me tilt over just a little bit. Whoops, not exposure, over here. Okay, good. And then I think all I need to do, maybe just a slight crop or a big crop. I mean, the feet and everything are really cute, but I don't know if we need. Oh, I got the feet in there. It's kind of cute. Okay, I'll go with that. I was just thinking, should I stick with that or not? I think I will. Let's just darken the image overall a little bit, and then brighten up the rabbit. So I'm just going to pull it back about 0.6, and then let's see if we can select the rabbit with the local adjustments. Yeah, perfectamundo. And maybe not that much. Good. And then add, whoops, and then add some tiny bit of clear view, a little bit of a punch on the vibrance and saturation. Let's brighten up the flower. Let's try the auto masking brush. Just select that. Like so. Okay, let's just pull it back a little bit there. All right, let's do the eye and the ears maybe. So for the eye, I'm going to try and drop the pointer right on the brownish part of the iris. Whoops. I need to pull it in. And I'm gonna just tighten up the chroma just a bit. Okay. And clear view and micro contrast. Maybe a little bit of warmth just to make it more brown, because it looks a little bit magenta or purple. I really like the whites of the eye too. Let me see if I can accentuate that a bit. So I'm just using the auto masking brush. And let's get rid of that bluish color. So just pull blue. Let's do all the colors then. Let's see. Yeah, that's good. Okay. And okay, the light is coming in from the top here because I can see a little bit of light here, but not so much here. So it's probably some plants and stuff blocking the light. I'm going to try and bring that in a bit. Let's do just a regular brush. I got the flow. Let's increase the flow a little bit. Whoops, yeah, I need a new mask. Just a little bit more and add some warmth. Let me pull the flow back. Just add a little bit there, a little bit here. A little bit inside. All right. And then let me just darken the foreground just a little bit. So I'll use a control point with a new layer. I'm going to drop it on one of the darker areas, tighten up the luma just a little bit, and then let's just pull that in. Let me tighten up the chroma as well. I don't know if that's, I may have overdone it. Let me just see. Yeah, this one's the main problem. No, I don't like it up there. I'm going to brighten up the eye just a bit. Uh, all right, let's call it there. So I like the vertical. It was kind of optional to keep the feet in here, but I thought the feet were pretty cute. The tail is very cute too, but then it would just kind of take away from what's really going on up here. And then just adding some warm light in key places, I think, helps separate the rabbit a bit more. Uh, and then brightening up the eyes, of course, right? So you can really see that iris. But I think that came out pretty good. Okay. So that was from Chris Jones. Awesome. Thank you, Chris. Chris might be new here. I don't recall that name. Sorry if you're not new and I just forgot. But I always like to see new people coming into the stream. All right, so this one's from Jeff, and F9 key to bring the panels in. Let's apply, uh, let's do extra sharp on this one. And basically it just applies more sharpening. Composition wise, I'm going to leave some, let me get rid of the negative space here and just see, I need a little bit of a tilt too, I think. There's a straight line right here, I think. Okay. And then we can come in a lot tighter. It might be, so Chris, you have sent in a few before. Sorry, Chris. uh, I just don't remember. I'm just getting old, I guess. I feel like this balances nicely, this composition. So let's do, we have some really strong highlights here though, right? So I'm going to temper those locally, just trying to get a feel for the overall exposure. What would be best? Do I really, it needs to be warmer, I think, overall. Just to add some global warmth. About like that. The highlights here need to be tempered all the way up. And certainly this one. And a lot in here. All right, let me try this. I'm going to hit the Shift key and select back here. Let's just try that area. Okay. Let's select the water. Darken that. Maybe add a little bit of cooling. Okay, and then let's just use a control point for the highlights up here and here. I think that's good. Okay, I'm approaching the bird last because I want to just get the scene or the setting right. I normally go for the subject first, but this one I just feel like I need to work on the outside first. We need to fix this too. See if I can do it this way. Yeah, right about there. All right. So I think, yeah, let me do compare with geometry. All right, that's good. All right, as for this bird, I don't want to temper the highlights in the shadow areas. I want to be really selective. So I don't know if I can get, well, let me try the whole bird. If I just do that, yeah, that's not going to look right. Let me trash that. Let me do it with control points. Here, and then I'll just do a little bit tighter on the luma. Here and here. A little tighter. Okay, good. And then I'm going to select the beak. I wonder if the AI can just grab it. Let's see. Yeah. Just temper a little bit more, but add a lot of color. Because a lot of the color got lost in the highlights, from the exposure. All right, let's work on the eye. Come in about there. Okay, maybe add some vibrance too. A dab of saturation. Okay. Ooh, it's too bright. Hold on. And back this off. We don't need any. We don't need any color. We just need to get the exposure right. Spread that out a bit more. Okay. All right, good. Now let's extract a little more, I guess, detail. Maybe just because there's some nice yellows in here too. Maybe just let me look at it close. Just a little more contrast in the feathers, maybe. Let me try with a control point. And I'm going to drop this on, oops, I'm going to drop this on. Let me drop this on the darkest part here. Okay. We'll tighten up the Luma mask in this case. Chroma. And a little bit of color. Okay. And then let's do one more control point, but on the brighter part, maybe about here. And tighten up the Luma. And the chroma in this case. And I want the feathers to show a little more. How big is that control point? It's here, right? Let's back off the just back that off a little bit and add a little warmth. It's here. Just a touch. And again, this eye looks too bright, so just pull the opacity on it. I have this guy. I really want to brighten the eye. I'm just getting a little bit too much. I don't know why I'm struggling with this eye a little bit. I should probably just use the AI tool to select the eye. Because the eyelids are getting too bright. But then the eye's not bright enough for me. So that's what I'm going to do. Let me get rid of those control points. And then let me just use the AI tool to select the eye maybe. And then, yeah, that's better. And some micro contrast. Okay, that looks better. Just back that off a little bit. Take the reds, a bit darker. Okay, let's add a vignette. We're here. So a vignette, I use a control point. I take the chroma and luma to 0. I invert it. And then I use the selective tone curve to just, ooh, that's too much. Make this bigger. All right, I think we're good. And we'll compare it to, so here's the full image on the left and then mine on the right. So I think this crop works. It just sort of balances the scene a little bit. And then the main thing was just trying to separate the bird from the background. So I made the background, particularly the highlights, darker so they don't take away from the bird itself. And overall, not bad. I didn't want to, I feel like this beak could be even more colorful, but I'm not sure if in real life this bird's beak is that rich. So I think I'll just leave it at that. But I think that looks pretty good. Right? So before and after. Okay, let's go to the next one. And this one's from Martin Vilk, looks like. Oh, this looks like Easter Island. Very nice. So let's apply a default preset. Oh, is this a fisheye lens? Yeah, oh, the fisheye. I'm gonna turn the distortion off on fisheye. I like the distortion of the fisheye. Where is that? That's probably over here. Yeah, let's leave it at that. And I want to look at what's in the scene. Okay. I'm just going to leave it bright for a little bit to help me compose. I feel like this could be super wide, like a 16 by 7. I wish this was centered a little better. So if I crop in too tight, I kind of lose a little bit too much, but I think because the sky is actually the most dramatic thing here. I guess we don't need that much sky. I'm just going to manually work on the distortion a bit. Let's manually just, let me see. No, fisheye. Just gonna add a little bit there. All right, that's good. So the question is, does it look better as a silhouette? Let me start right here. So it looks like you dialed in negative 1.7 and I'm putting it back in plus 1.7. And I think if you were at ISO 200, it would have been better. It'd have been better for the highlights, so I'm told. Select the sky. Add some color. Maybe just temper the highlights on this side. Back off the luminosity and chroma. Turn off the chroma altogether. Okay. Let's do something with the water. Just some clear view. It needs a lot of contrast though, I think. Yeah. And we'll give it a little bit of warmth. Okay. Just a touch more brightness. Now, this statue has a tiny bit of light on the right. I'm sorry, on its left. But there's almost no speculars here, so I think I'll just silhouette them. Oh, got a crick in my neck. Uh, I'm gonna go to the global. I think I'll just silhouette it. Go back to the water. Okay, I think that's it. Uh, that's a tough composition, but I think the ultra wide 16:7 works. I could go even tighter, meaning like a 65:24 something really thin, and that'll emphasize the statues a little more. But then we would lose a lot of the drama in the sky, particularly this cloud here. This cloud could use a little more drama, actually. Let me work on this cloud a little bit. It needs, did I select it? Yeah. Just needs something. Okay, that'll do. But okay, very nice. Really, really pretty image. Really amazing sky. Uh, but you'll have to experiment a bit with the composition to really get the most out of this image, meaning the crop. All right, very good. Thanks for sending that one. That was cool. I've never seen a photo of Easter Island, at least on my editing streams. Very nice, Martin. Okay, let's try this one from Larry. Looks like the Grand Canyon. Oops, do I have an optics module? No, I don't need it. So let's go ahead and do default. And this again would be another wide, super wide, I think. The horizon needs a little bit of straightening. Let's see if, yeah, the auto horizon worked pretty well. I feel like I've seen this image before. So I seem to remember working with the highlights and stuff. Yeah, this was taken about 10 months ago. I wonder if I've seen this if I've seen this before. Feels really, really familiar. Okay, let me try 16 by 9. 65. And let's get rid of the top of, I'm looking at the top of this thing. Maybe about there. Yep. All right. Little global clear view. Just a little bit less. A little bit of warmth. And some contrast. Whoops. Didn't mean to close that panel. Like so. Let's go to the colors. I'm going to just select this deep orange. Just lighten those a bit. Over here. Let's darken those. Okay. Let's try a control line to add some contrast. Whoops. Trying to grab the eyedropper and put it on the brighter part. And just push the luma a bit. And a little bit of warmth. Let's do some vibrancy. All right, let's make a new control line, but this time let's target the shadow area. Yeah, this is shadowy over here. All right, that's good. All right, let me look at the sky now. Just do the AI tool. Let's diffuse that a bit. Temper the highlights a little. Okay, let's cool it off maybe. No, that looks awful. How about making it warmer? I think the white balance is okay. We'll just leave it. All right. Let's add a little more texture. The color is just a little bit off. Okay, I'll go with portrait too. All right, I think I'll call it there. So again, I went with just a wide crop and then cranked up the contrast. And then added a little warmth. I'm not completely happy with this edit though. I mean, I feel like I'm about 60% there. It's the browns and particularly the tans that I don't like. I like the tans and the whites over here, the gray. It's just not coming through on this right side. Let me see if I can select. Ah, because it's not really tan. It's closer to orange. Okay, I think that works a little better. Okay, that's a little better. All right, very good. So that was the last. Let me go back to this one here. I'm gonna try the same super wide panorama crop. Where is that? It's over here. That didn't make a lot of difference. What if I really come in tight on the statues? I don't know, that kind of works too. Now we can see a little bit more of the seawater. Okay. So I see Heather said you're going to try and upload again. And Larry says painted desert, petrified park, same place, different photo. Okay. Got it. It did look really, really familiar. Uh, okay, and Jeff says, nice job. It's a Dalmatian pelican. Oh, that's cool. All right, let me see if I can find what's come in since, particularly one from Heather. And, oh, wow, a bunch came in. So I see a duck, a sparrow. Looks like a moth or some bugs. Okay. Oh, I'm going to look at the edit comparison because Paul sent his version. And then I'm going to take a 1 minute break. And then I'm going to come back and try and edit the 3 or 4 that came in because I'm feeling okay. I just need about 1 minute break. But let's look at Paul's first before we do that. So this is Paul's edit here. Whoops. So you stayed with the color, but you really emphasized the starburst from the sun. Probably did that in Luminar or something because I didn't see the starburst when I was editing. So pretty cool. Uh, it's still very monochromatic. It's just an orange monochromatic instead of black and white, right? If we go back to, whoops, where is it? My edit here. Just as a reminder, that was my edit. I went black and white. But like you see, I don't see any streaks at all. But that's cool. So as you can see, there's a bunch more. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and select all these and download them. And then I'll take a 1 minute break and come back and we'll go ahead and edit those. Okay, so just give me 1 minute. I'll be right back. I just need to get some water. Okay, sorry. Hope you guys can see and hear me okay. Got a little bit of water. So we'll do 5 more. Why not? So we got one here from Ivan, and I can see I need to download an optics module. So it's definitely new camera lens combination. Ivan looks like a new person to the stream. So welcome, Ivan. And again, I apologize if you have sent them in before and I just don't remember. But we'll grab that. This is a Sony a7 IV. Okay, very nice with a 200 to 600. Very nice setup. Give that, oh, sorry, not seeing the screen. So Heather sent in the JPEG. Do you want to upload the RAW? Go ahead and upload the RAW. When I get to yours, I'll swap it out. Okay, this is yours. You sent the JPEG. I can edit the JPEG, but a RAW would be nicer. All right, let's go ahead and work on this. Oh, it's a bird. Somehow I thought this was a moth. My dying eyes, I can't see. Wow. Oh, I forget what these are called, but that's a really pretty bird. Okay, so let's apply a standard preset, a default. And this composition works right in here. So let's crop in just nice and tight. Put the bird front and center. Maybe do that. So I think all I have to do is maybe temper the highlights a bit. They're really strong. But what if we just select sky? Okay. It missed a little bit in here, so I'm going to add that in with a submask. And just use a brush. Crank the flow back up. Okay, good. Oh, missed a little bit in here. I think I'll use a submask and an auto masking brush and just do it this way. All right, good. And just bring that in. Like so. So these highlights are clipped. Let me see, maybe I can fix some of that with, let's try a clone tool. And we'll select a little bit darker area here and the same thing here. Move this. I just don't want so many speculars distracting in the image. This one's going to be a little trickier. We'll do this a little bit at a time. Let me get in closer. Uh-oh, okay. All right, good enough. That last one is a little bit rough. Let's see. Maybe opacity. I'm gonna reshape. Well, I don't like that last one. Let's do it this way, just a straight. And get it off of the bird. Okay, good enough. Well, let's add a little bit more. Just a spot. Okay. All right, let's select the bird. I'll just brighten the bird up a bit. A little bit of clear view and micro contrast. And just a touch more saturation, maybe vibrance. I'd like to bring out the reds a little bit. So let's just select red. Okay. Good. All right. And is there any color in the eye? Tiny bit there. Tiny bit of red. So let's see if we can drop it right on that. Or is, wow, it's giant. Let's bring it all the way in. Mm. Okay. Back it off a little bit. All right, that's about all I can do there. Okay, this branch, maybe temper the highlight over here. Just use a control point. And then let's add a vignette. Maybe about here. And maybe a little tighter crop, just to get rid of this. This highlight is really bad. I think if I do, let's try 4x3. Okay. So that's the original. So this bird was pretty far away. If you were shooting at 600 millimeters, I don't remember. You were at 600 as it is. So we had to crop in quite a bit. Luckily, we have 33 megapixels, I think, on this camera. So we can crop quite a bit. But yeah, and still retain some detail, but we can just do a side by side. It's a little bit crispy. I might back off the sharpening a little bit, but overall, I think uh, pretty good edit. Okay. Let's see. This one from John Gavin, and I do have the optics module for this one, so let's apply the default preset. There's a lot of color in the sky. Clearly it's sunrise or sunset. I just need to tilt it a little bit. I think right there. And let me just darken this and see where I want to bring light in. So I'm going to bring, the light is coming in kind of backlit. So I think the sun set behind this mountain somewhere, or this hill, because I'm not seeing any light really coming in otherwise. So the light's coming in from this direction, because even here it's just barely touching that side and the front of this building. But I might start with this exposure. Composition wise, let me brighten this back up. Uh, I don't see any corners I can use. I don't know if I need to keep the whole bench in. Let me just crop in a little bit. This is a 5D Mark IV, so and I really want to look at the camera just to get an idea of the aspect ratio. So I'm changing it. I wonder if I can get away with. There's nothing in the scene outside of these boundaries that really add to the photo. I can come in. Yikes. I need a little bit more. Mm. Still don't feel like this is really the right balance. That feels a little better. This bench is a little bit off though. I can just get to the handlebars or the armrest. Hmm. I think I'll go with that. Um, okay. Let's select the sky and just bring that in just a tiny bit. Add some color back in. And then we can add a little bit of light here and there. A little bit more light on the front of this building. Add a little bit of warmth. a little bit back in here. And then let's light up the lamps. I don't think I can do it. What if I... I might give up on this, with the lamps. Let's see how that's looking. Okay. Mm, wonder. Okay. I don't know if I really need these lamps. Quite that bright. I'll leave it at that. Okay, the fence needs to be a little bit brighter too. Let me try. I don't think I can do it with just control points. See if I can get the water separated. Maybe. It's not looking too good. Okay, go back to the fence. Hmm. Yeah, this fence and water is a problem. Maybe about that. All right. Um, yeah, this fence is just a train wreck. Just back that off. Okay, I'm gonna call it there. Uh, with this, what the biggest change is the composition, right? I went to a horizontal, and the rest is just light painting. But the problem I have with the vertical is I don't have any lines that go into a corner. And then when I tried to wrap a corner in, it didn't work. Uh, I would have probably stood a little more to the left to get this line into the frame a little more, and and this line to line up, and then I would get a nicer row of the street lamps. Is how I would have done it. But like I said, what I do is always could be a totally different vision from what you have in mind. It's a little bit of flaring here I should fix, but overall I kind of like the warmer sky and the warmer tones overall. And I struggled a bit with this fence, but I think that came out okay. So there's my final edit. All right, uh, let's go to the next one. So thank you, John, for sending that. And let me just see if Heather's is there real quick. If you sent the raw, if you didn't send the raw, um, I can just work with the JPEG. Download. Yeah, I see the raw now. I don't know why it's not downloading. Hold on. Download. Oh, here it comes. Save. All right. Okay. Oops. Yeah, this is the right screen. So uh get rid of the JPEG there. Oh, Deadlift sent his edit in, looks like. Wow, very nice. A little bit more noise in the shadows. I didn't bring the shadows up quite as much on the people to hide the noise, right? Because my edit was much darker on the clothing. But other than that, very similar edit. You had a little tighter crop. I guess we can compare it to my edit, which was over here. It was over here. Where is it? I don't know where my edit went, but okay, there you go. Very nice. Nice 16 by 9 crop, looks like. That way the people are a little bit larger in the frame. But I would probably just bring the shadows in a bit more, something like this, so that the noise doesn't show quite as much. And then you can highlight the people a little more that way. All right, let's go to this next one. And we have a little, looks like a song sparrow. Oh, let me check. I keep check. I don't need to do any more optics modules. Okay. So let's apply a default preset. Let's crop in nice and tight. And wow, classic D3400. Man. And the 70 to 300 VR, really excellent lens. Very, very good combination. All right, let's select the bird. Let's add some brightness here. And then we'll go here and we'll just darken everything else. Back to the bird. Let's add some color. Like so. And we'll selectively, let's do the beak a little bit. And maybe the talons. Kind of the same. I can use the same settings, I think. That one's a little bit strong, so I'm going to erase a little bit off. Okay, and then the eye, let's see. Let's do a control point. There's a tiny bit of iris in there. Okay, good. And I'm gonna just change the aspect ratio 4:3. Then we have this line coming into the frame. Okay. We'll call it there. So basically a crop and then add a little brightening and color to the bird. The iris is a little bit dark, so I wasn't able to bring that out as much. But otherwise, I think that's that's a reasonable edit. So that was from Mickey. Thank you, Mickey. Okay, let's do this one from Heather. And we'll apply, I think I'll do extra sharp on this one. And then we just need to highlight some of the color on this duck, the reflection, and maybe a little tighter crop. Maybe even square. A little bit over. All right. Down. Perfect. Oh, she's got a little duck under here hiding out. That's cute. Okay. Let's select the water and just give it a little bit of gloss with clear view, micro contrast, push the speculars a bit. Okay. And let's select the duck and just give the duck a little bit more. Okay. That's good. And I think the bottom one is okay too. But if I add that, that's too much. Let's go back to this. I feel like this, yeah, just a touch and some vibrancy, touch of saturation. And then let's just get in on the eye. Okay, let me back off a little bit on the intensity here. A little more color on the legs. The same thing there. And a little bit, let me see, maybe I can use the same brush. Yeah, that's fine. And on the beak. Not the beak. All right. So there you have it. There's the original on the left and just a tighter crop on the right, and then my usual edits that I do to wildlife. Um, I could brighten up this little baby duck a little bit. I think that probably wouldn't hurt. Let me see if I can get him. Yeah. And then add a tiny bit of warmth. Oh, just a little bit. Okay. There, now you can really see them in there. Because initially when I looked at it, I didn't even see the little baby duck down there. I think that looks good. And, you know, we were at ISO 5000, so clearly DxO cleaned that up pretty nicely, I think. If I were to kind of match these up. All right, let's see. And then one more. Oh, super wide. 8mm fisheye. Man, I've been using my 8mm a lot lately too. So it's really cool to see you guys sending in some 8mm. Um, so let's apply a preset, and I'm going to get rid of the automatic distortion. I like the fisheye look. I need a slight horizon correction, I think. Whoops, we're here. I wonder if, yeah, the auto picked it up this time. So we just need to accentuate the greens here in the water and the blues and yellows in the sky. Maybe bring out the town a little bit and highlights, do a little light painting on the mountains, and we're good. So composition wise, I'm pretty content with the 4x3 because the other option would be something like that. Maybe something like that. Yeah, I think that works. Okay, let's go ahead and select the sky because I know there's a lot going on there, and some vibrancy, saturation. Let's select the water. This needs to be brightened up quite a bit. A little bit of vibrancy. And then let's do the town. I might have to use a brush for the town. I don't think I can grab it. Maybe a little bit. Yeah, there we go. Let's brighten up the town a bit. And there's a little bit of spill here, so I'm just going to use a negative brush with a submask, right? And just get it there. Okay, some micro contrast. And then let's do another submask, and I'm going to do an auto masking and just kind of grab a little bit in here and here. Let me just take a little bit off with a negative brush. Let's flow it down 30%. Okay, good. And let's light paint these mountains a little bit. So maybe just a brush. Let's turn the flow down. And just light paint it a little bit. Okay. Get this warmer. A little less warm. Okay. We need some clear view, some micro. A little bit here and here. A little bit in there. A little bit more there. Oops, too much there. Okay. All right. Let me go globally here. I just feel like this can be brighter. Maybe not that bright. Hmm. Okay, I think I like it. I don't mind the highlights here. I like this part. Everything around here looks good. Maybe a little more light right in here. So let me get a softer brush. A bit more. Okay. All right, I think that works. It's hard to see my edit because it's crunched down so small, but maybe if I do a slider instead. But there's the edit. That's the original. Okay, I think that came out pretty nice. All right. Was that the last one? Yep, that was the last one. So let's see. In the chat, it looks like unusual for you and Paul to have such different. Yeah, a little bit, but they weren't that different. I mean, it was the one with the monument and the girl running on the monument. Uh, yeah, he did the sun stars, which I didn't do, and then left it in color. But I guess is a really what do you call that? A very simplified scene. So the edits are going to look similar almost no matter what you do, right? Because there's not a lot of elements. There was the monument, the girl running in the pond, but they were pretty you know, there wasn't a lot of detail because we silhouetted everything. So that's why I think they were different but very similar, right? And that's about your edit. And you did use the Neo. I see that. Shoot. Oh, we got that resolved. Hi, the tiny green bird is a Cooper Smith Barbet. Okay, cool. Thank you for sharing that. And that Detlef says, thanks, Rob, for editing my color concert image. As you said, it was deliberately underexposed because of the windows. I like your result. In my own edit, I tried to sharpen the faces a bit. Yeah, I did notice that. I didn't mention it, but I did notice you sharpen the faces a little bit. And I think that's what kind of led to the extra noise in the shadows on their clothing. So just pull the black slider down a little bit, and I think it'll be a much cleaner image. And yep, I saw your edit, and I saw the raw, and you're tempted. So the fisheye is tricky. When you apply the rectilinear correction, either in Photolab or in camera, uh, the the parts that get stretched out to make it rectilinear, you lose a lot of detail. You know, I've tried a lot of different ways with that lens, and I could never get the corners to look good because it gets stretched out so much, and you're losing probably half of the pixels that created that particular part of the image. Uh, so I tend to try to shoot the fisheye without any rectilinear correction because just straightening it out, because the lens wasn't designed to be rectilinear, so that's why you lose all of those pixels when you stretch it back out, and the corners just really don't look good. Now, if you stop down to f4, f5.6, the corners are tack sharp without doing any rectilinear correction. If you leave it in the fisheye, its native fisheye perspective, you get very sharp corner to corner, like in the image we just edit with the seascape, right? So definitely the 8mm fisheye is awesome. There are much more affordable alternatives, of course. But the fisheye I found, because of the 1.8 aperture, really gives you more options, right? So money, no object, get the 8mm fisheye Pro. If money is a problem, there is, or not a problem, but if you don't want to spend that much on a fisheye, a really good alternative is a lens I just reviewed. So if you look for a fisheye review, a recent one that I did, I can't remember what it was because I sold it to one of my friend of mine because I have the 8mm. I don't need another fisheye, but it's really good and it's about only a couple $100. I think it's 150 and it's really good. Let me see if I can find it. I'll find it real quick. For anyone else that might be interested, this is a really good lens. Fisheye lens, micro 4/3. It's big and bulky, but it's worth it. This one, 7 Artisans, it's $200. This lens is really good. It's an f2, so it's pretty much the same aperture. And this lens is very, very sharp. If you want a sharp rectilinear lens, you know, the 8-25. So Paul, actually, if you have the 8-25mm and you don't, you know, and you want a rectilinear image, you're all set. I can't remember if you have, I think you have the 8-25, right? So I'll just grab a link for this lens, but this is a pretty good lens. And one little alien, oh, I like that. One little alien says, great job. I like your edits. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. And do you get better results in camera or in post? I haven't compared, to be honest. Uh, when we talk on Sunday, because I'm going to do my Sunday live stream, just ask me again. I'll try and test in camera rectilinear correction, which is JPEG only. That's why I don't do it. If you do rectilinear correction in camera, you get a JPEG. So that's why I never do it. But I can look at it for you if you like. Just remind me on Sunday, but I'll try and do it because I've been using the fisheye a lot. I'll probably use it again tomorrow because I'm going to do a sunflowers field. So I'll do it there. That'll be a good place to test. But anyhow, I guess that's it. So you guys, this was a long one today. Thank you so much for sending your images in. It's always a pleasure for me to edit them. I hope you like the edits and learn to use some of the tools in Photoshop a little better, as well as some ideas on the editing workflow that I follow, particularly like in the very beginning where the rectilinear applying the distortion correction messed up all of my local adjustments, right? So that's why I always emphasize try to get the geometry correct. You can always crop later without any penalty to the local adjustments, but any kind of distortion correction, skewing, horizon, things like that definitely are a problem. So that was the biggest lesson from today, right? But other than that, I appreciate everyone's support. Remember, we got 20% off today. And I also have my Amazon affiliate links and all of that that you can use to support the channel. And of course, you can always make a donation. But most of all, have a great day. Try to do that every day. You'll have a good life, right? Have a great weekend. I hope to see you guys all again soon.